You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hey, all you music lovers out there, welcome back to Modern Musicology. My name is Alan, and we have a full house today. We've got Rob Levy.
Hello.
We've got Anthony Williams.
Greetings, fellow humans.
And we've got Stephanie Seymour.
I'm going to just say it because I was like, should I say it or not? But we're raising hell tonight. That's just a reference to one of the albums.
Heck yes. One of the highlights, I would say.
Yeah.
So we are going to be talking tonight about the amazing music that came out in the year 1986. Now, like we've done with all of our 80s shows, the 80s were a big decade. So we are going to split 1986 into two halves. We're going to do January through June in this episode, and then we'll be back in 1 week to talk about July through December. So let's just get it started. No waiting around. Let's just jump right into it. And Stephanie, I know you got one that's right up at the top of the year.
Yes. January 13th, baby. The Bangles with Different Lights. Holy hell, this album. I mean, you know, just on the singles Manic Monday and Walk Like an Egyptian, this is really their biggest album. But I think that almost every song on this could be a single, almost every song, because there's a couple of real mellow numbers at the end there. But man, and I mean, actually, like 5 of the songs were singles on this album. So this, by the way, I just want to tell everybody, I just saw Vicky Pearson and John Cowsill play at a very small club, and it was so fantastic. And I met Vicky, and I was just made my whole month, I think. So just want to tell everybody that. Go buy their record.
And
really
you said that they played a couple of Bangles songs.
Well, yeah, she actually, so they played Manic Monday. She sort of told us a story about, a little bit story about Prince giving them that song and stuff. So that was cool. But then people were shouting out for A Different Light. And they were like looking at each other saying, should we do it? Should we do it? And they did it. And I was like, oh my God, that's like my favorite song on this album practically. And so they're singing their, there's a lot of harmony in that song. And I was like singing the third part from the audience.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I love that they played that song.
Yeah. I love this album because there's so many trade-offs with the vocals. And also my favorite song on this album is called Let It Go. And they're all singing a lead.
That's my favorite too.
Yep. They're all singing a lead. So it's so great. I love it.
It's got the most intricate harmonies on the whole album.
Yep, totally. So anyway, and then there's a few, I keep thinking like, how much money has Liam Sternberg made from Walk Like an Egyptian? He's got one song on this album and it's that fucking song, And Jules Shear too, with If She Knew What She Wants.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And of course, Prince with Manic Monday. But they wrote a lot. The Bangles wrote a lot of the songs on this too, though. But
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Let It Go, Different Light, all those. Walking Down Your Street. Oh my God. I love that song too.
Me too. Following. Mickey Skill wrote that. And she sung that.
Yes. And she also sang something.
She sang September Girls, that Alex Chilton
Yes,
wrote.
I love that.
What a cover.
Yeah, it is. But Following, man, that's one of my favorites.
I know. Anyway, so that's my top pick there.
Nice.
Well, if we want to stick with January, I have one honorable mention because I'm not a huge fan of this band, but I do think it's a very interesting and creative album. And that's Album by Public Limited, or also known as compact disc, cassette, or MP3, depending on the format. I'm not a huge Johnny Lydon fan. The Pistols have never really been my thing, but Public Image Limited, I generally enjoy. You know, he gets
Yeah.
more experimental. It's a lot more interesting, in my opinion. And you got Steve Vai on this record. You got Ginger Baker, Tony Williams. It's one hell of a group of musicians.
Mhm.
I mean, it's almost like a Johnny Lydon solo album rather than a Pill album, because all the, you know, there's no Jar Wobble or anyone like that. And of course, it's got the big hit, Rise, which
Oh my God, I
is
love that song.
one of my favorite songs of all time. So honorable mention there.
Yeah, that's the first sort of PIL record I really dug. I've like you, Anthony, I didn't love the Pistols. I thought the Pistols were just basically a singles band, but that's like the first exposure. I guess in many ways, first exposure to post-punk I had, but that's the first sort of image of John Lydon that a lot of people in America got, because they played that on 120 minutes. So most people didn't really know what Johnny Lydon moved like. They knew what he looked like and sounded like, but they didn't know how he sort of moved around. And like Bags is great on that, and Home. And it's got this sort of like esoteric kind of, you said experimental, which kind of totally works for it, but it doesn't really go anywhere. It's almost like freeform jazz in many ways, which makes sense because Bill Laswell's on it, and so is Ryuichi Sakamoto,
and Tony Williams.
Yeah. So it makes sense. But yeah, Rise is just fantastic, and you can always listen to it. And it drove the collectors nuts trying to get it in all the formats.
Yeah, and you know, the fact that Rise went out, that all that really said on the front cover was single as well. I love that. And you know, the track itself is about apartheid in South Africa and Nelson Mandela. I mean, there's not a lot to not love about it. And Steph, I think the U2, the guitar is very U2
Oh,
as well.
Yeah.
I didn't really even think about that, but yes, I agree.
Can I talk about another January record that
Please.
isn't one that I actually like, but it needs a mention for being an absolute fucking train wreck? And that's Black Sabbath's Seventh Star, which was never even meant to be released as a Black Sabbath album. It was meant to be a Tony Iommi solo album. The record label forced his hand. It went out as Black Sabbath featuring Tony Iommi, with Glenn Hughes on vocals. And it's got a couple of songs I enjoy. I have a little bit of a guilty pleasure factor from No Stranger to Love. And Danger Zone is actually quite fun, but overall it was a shit
that
show.
it blows.
And oh god, the tour! I mean, Glenn Hughes was really messed up on drugs. Got into a fight with the band manager, or no, I think it was one of the road crew. He got into a fight with someone on the tour, took a punch to the face, and ended up bleeding down his sinuses and destroying his vocal cords, and couldn't tour. And that was the end of his Black Sabbath career.
Oh my God.
Dadgum, man.
He was fired after 5 shows.
Dadgum.
Yeah. That was my Central
Dadgum.
Florida coming out.
So, and you know, clearly there's no bad blood between Iommi and Hughes, because they've done a couple of albums more recently together, and those have been really good. So I know what the hell went on with this album.
Bad timing.
Bad timing.
Yep.
All right, I yield the floor.
I reclaim my time. Well, okay. Since we're on a metal tip, I will throw in that in February, Ozzy, The Ultimate Sin, came out. And we talked a lot about that when we did our Ozzy, our tribute episode. So I don't want to go into too much detail about it, but it's a great album. The big single off of this was Shot in the Dark, which is a bit poppier than a lot of his stuff, but I absolutely love it. The title track, Ultimate Sin, is so good. Secret Loser, fantastic song. And everybody should go back and listen to our Ozzy tribute episode from last year. I think it was a great episode, and for a very sad reason. But yeah, I love this album. Love it.
It's an interesting one, because I feel like it's very often overlooked, because you start his solo career with Blizzard of Oz, Diary of a Madman, and then Bark at the Moon. So obviously Randy died between Diary and Bark. You get Jakey Lee in for these 2 albums, Bark at the Moon and Ultimate Sin. And for some reason, this one's just not... I don't want to say it's unpopular. It's more just people don't think about it. Because then you get No Rest for the Wicked, where you get Zakk Wylde, who was Ozzy's guitarist for most of his solo career. Yeah, for some reason, I feel like this album just gets overlooked a lot.
I think it's the production. Ron Nevison produced this, and he produced a lot of the other more like polished sounding rock and metal things. And I think it doesn't like fit. You know what I mean? It sounds different than all the previous Ozzy albums up to that point, and a lot of the later ones too. So I think that, you know, Nevison maybe put too much of his own stamp, but people kept hiring him to put his stamp on stuff. So, you know, I mean, at this point, Ozzy's having to compete with a lot of those bands that are coming up that sound like a Nevison band, you know? So I think it was just it's not necessarily an anomaly, because I think the material is really good on this album. I just think it's the actual sound of it is a little bit too different.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
So yeah, I'll take a departure into the more quiet and go with The Color of Spring by Talk Talk. It's their third album, one that a lot of people sort of forget about because there's not sort of a hit on it. But Mark Hollis at that point decided, you know, screw this, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. And he made this sort of poppy, jazzy melody record. And you have to almost take it as a whole album rather than a record like there are other records where you had a hit and then stuff. But if you take it as a whole, it's not bad. And he totally dove into the whole like nature photography, like color art cover thing through the whole album. So it's got this weird sort of like color tone on it, but the songs on it are pretty good. I mean, it's pretty mellow, and there's nothing remotely like Life's What You Make It or It's My Life sounding on it at all. But it does have Robbie McIntosh from the Pretenders. He plays on it.
Oh, I think
which is
so great.
which is pretty cool. He plays on a couple tracks on it. And yeah, it was the record that if you were like a cool new wave kid and you put on at a party, everybody left. Because everyone sort of was really mad. People were really mad when this record came out because it wasn't
like
and he's like, you know, we're at the midpoint of the 80s. It can't all sound like, you know, space music forever. And he was kind of right. So I mean, this is the year that you kind of get that sort of like jazz kind of infiltrating pop, because you get the Blow Monkeys.
Oh my God, that's my honorable mention.
Well, yeah, you get the Blow Monkeys, you get the Blue Nile, you know, you've got Cell Council, you've got some of that stuff all going on, and this is kind of in that vein.
Yeah, cool. All right, I'm gonna totally change it up, Rob, because you're talking about mellow, kind of ambient, whatever, and I'm gonna talk about Janet Jackson with her album Control. Came out on February 4th. It's her third album, but this, oh my God, this really busted her into the mainstream.
Yeah.
With, you know, I mean, you can't go wrong collaborating with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, you know?
That is true. They were gold.
They were gold. Yep. And I mean, it was really, it kind of brought her into being a leader. Them, I should say, not just her, but them being that contemporary R&B sound. It wasn't just because they mixed all these different kinds of sounds like rap and funk and R&B. So I just also, there's so many songs on this rap record I could talk about.
Yeah, I was about to say, how many singles are on this thing?
Oh my God.
7?
There's like, I think there's like six or so. But When I Think of You, that's my favorite song on the album. And also that video is one of my absolute favorite videos of all time. It's done so well. It's just like watching a giant party happen right in front of you, you know? And they captured the joy of that song perfectly, I think. I love it.
And in a world that was like just coming off of Thriller, that was dying for anything by the Jacksons. The timing was perfect. The videos were great. I mean, she was really ahead of her time in terms of like how the videos got choreographed and presented, because she's better at it than Madonna. She's better at it than, you know, some of the other people of that
And
decade.
I'm also thinking Paula Abdul choreographed some of these videos.
Yeah.
I think I have to look that up. But
I think she did What Have You Done For Me Lately? But I don't know what else she's done. But
she might have done like Pleasure Principle also.
Yeah.
But
That's such a good song.
I know.
But it also too broke into the clubs too. It was like
Yeah.
a record that like broke out of black radio and got onto pop radio, and then it broke into clubs
Yeah.
too.
No,
So it
that's
was
what I'm
really
saying.
much more of a groundbreaking record than people thought as well, because it was also like a very independent, confident black woman just making the record that she wanted, and every song on it was a banger.
Yeah. It's so good.
But this was as important as this album was for Janet. This was just as important for Jimmy and Terry,
Yeah. Yes.
because they were already a known quantity. They had been in the time, and they had toured with Prince's band for a little while, and they were getting into this whole production thing. And this album exploded their career. And they really defined that whole Minneapolis sound in the mid 80s through the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
They were everywhere for a while.
They really were. You couldn't go to an MTV award show without seeing them there.
That's right. I do think Nasty's a bit of the cheesy song, but there's so much
Agreed.
else that's on this album that's so great.
Yes. Yeah.
It's no Rhythm Nation, but it's still a good album.
Yeah. I mean, Rhythm Nation is 100 times like better than almost any album you could ever imagine, but
But you see it coming. The freight
You
train's
do.
coming, and
You
get out of the
do.
way. Yeah.
agree.
Dude, we should do a show all about Jimmy and Terry sometime.
Oh, that would be great.
God, I love everything that they've done, and they've done some
Yeah.
surprising things. So
Yeah, let's do
just
that.
a thought.
We should.
There you go. Spoilers for listening.
Well, if we're good to head into March, there's a pretty fucking big album.
There's a lot
Came
of big albums in March. Yeah, it's
No, but one of the biggest heavy metal albums of all fucking time being Master of Puppets. And I know that at least three of us want to talk about this. Rob, I'm not sure if you're that into
no.
this album.
It's probably I can let you guys finish it, but it's probably the first big metal record that I remember really, really making a point to listen to and then liking. Right. It touched a lot of nerves with the punk kids because it was hard and it was heavy. It had a lot of the spirit of punk and a lot of the sort of DIY attitude of it. So I came at it from the punk end, and it didn't sound like any, at least to me, in 1986 it did not sound like any other metal record I had heard before.
Yeah.
And I think, that was a big part of the thrash scene, was that blend of metal and punk, right? So you see Anthrax doing kind of the same thing, but no one ever did it quite as big as Metallica. And while their first two albums, Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning, had been big, this was the start of them going stratospheric.
Oh,
it really
yeah.
was. Yeah.
And that side one is
Oh.
impeachably solid. It is Battery, the title song, Thing That Should Not Be, Welcome Home, like
Yep.
punch you in the face every single second that this is playing. An incredible first side of an album.
I mean, that second side, Disposable Heroes, Leper Messiah, Orion, and Damage Inc.
Yeah.
I mean, that's equally strong.
This is just a badass album.
Yeah.
That's all there is.
Orion, for me, is a highlight because I obviously play bass, and Cliff really got to show off his talent on that track.
Oh, yeah.
And even seeing more modern footage with Rob Trujillo playing it live, you can really see what Cliff was doing. And damn.
What a shame. So this is if people probably know this, if you're any sort of Metallica fan at all, but this was the last album with Cliff because, tragically he was killed in an accident. And this is the final album that he made with them. But
September 86, he died in a bus accident.
Yep.
What's interesting too about this is not only did it appeal to sort of the punk kids, right? But you hear bands like Suicidal Tendencies that were traditional punks. They get this record, and then all of a sudden they're metal. So DRI the same way, right? A lot of these sort of traditional punk bands are just like, screw it, and they thrashed, right? And that sort of started this hybrid of thrash and metal thrash punk and metal. It was kind of,
It was coming up, but this is
Yeah.
like a big explosion of it. Yeah.
remember Metal Blade Records, Steph?
Oh my God, of course.
This is kind of where the start of metal, this is kind of the beginning of Metal Blade Records.
Before that, yeah, even Anthrax and stuff. But
Yeah.
yes, yep.
And
Yeah.
I mean, Metal Blade is still around. of
Yeah,
course.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Metal Blade. We should do a whole show about Metal Blade Records.
Oh, you son of a bitch! I'm in.
Alan.
I have a bunch of old Metal Blade records. They sent to college
1986.
radio.
1986 has been a generator for show ideas.
Great. A whole show about.
We should just do a whole show about 1986.
Oh wait. I didn't know we were going in monthly order because I still have two
You'll have to.
for February. Okay, so someone
Yeah, I've
else
got it.
tell them now. Yeah.
Well, are you going back to February?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to
Oh,
February.
I'll just do my February really quick because I only have
Okay.
one for February. March is my month. That's nuts. But so they released the Chills Kaleidoscope World at that point, which was a couple different EPs and singles that had not been released in the US or anything. And the Chills were from New Zealand, kind of the centerpiece along with the Go-Betweens and Straight Jacket Fits and the Clean in this New Zealand music scene, because at this point is when New Zealand and Australia are both really taken off, and the Chills were great before they made that really poppy album on Warner Brothers. They were really good. They made a really fantastic single called "I Love My Leather Jacket" and a couple other stuff. And they could do really heavy sort of indie rock stuff, but they also could do like melodic pop. So that's my February.
So my Februaries would be Elvis. They're sort of honorable mention, or I'll just go do them quickly. But "King of America" by Elvis Costello, which, by the way, was his 10th album. Hello, 10. The singles on it are really great, like "Brilliant Mistake," "Indoor Fireworks." I love that song. But my favorite song on this album is "Poison Rose." And if you don't know it, that's the song I'm highlighting for this whole entire episode. And then also I want to mention the Pretty in Pink soundtrack, because
Yeah.
that came out at the very last day of February, and that, talk about songs and singles. I mean, every
Right.
single thing on that was a major hit. So this was a giant soundtrack of a giant movie, and you still hear it today.
Right.
Yeah, and it got, I mean, outside of like Jermaine Johnson, it got a lot of artists their first exposure to the US. That's got the first sort of mainstream exposure for OMD.
OMD.
And Echo and the Bunnymen. In Excess is on that.
Yeah.
Nick Kershaw, the very short-lived Nick Kershaw.
Yeah, right.
Um,
The
but
rave
yeah.
ups. Yeah.
and the Rave Up should have been on that soundtrack. Those Rave Up records were fantastic.
Oh, that's right, because they were in the movie, but they weren't on.
Yeah.
No, I think.
They didn't think the movie was going to be a hit, so they didn't want to be on the soundtrack.
That's a shame.
So
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to predict these things.
Exactly.
You wouldn't think that movie, I mean, I really think that it was the soundtrack that sold that movie,
Yeah.
because otherwise you wouldn't look at that and think this is going to be the surprise hit of the year.
Although
It's
John
just,
Hughes
it's just
was on a
5 kids in
roll.
detention, you know?
I know, but John Hughes, this was the
I
third
know.
one out of the series that
That's right.
were so huge. So I think he should have known, but
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I can segue in two different directions. I was going to talk about another hard rock album that came out in March, following on from the Metallica thing, and that is Van Halen's 5150. This is the first album with Sammy Hagar. And I was so excited for this album because I loved Van Halen, mostly through their first 4 albums, which are just incredible records. And then 1984 was okay. But by Diver Down, I was so tired of David Lee Roth's bullshit. And when they basically said he was gone, I was like, okay, well, I'm not unhappy about that. And then when they said that Sammy was joining, I was like, dude, because this was 2 like hard rock powerhouses in the first half of the 80s. Now they were going to join forces. And I absolutely love this album. I know a lot of people have a different opinion about the quote unquote Van Hagar years,
yeah.
but I love it. It's after the first couple of albums, the Van Hagar stuff, I just absolutely love. And I remember Sammy was playing the previous summer. Sammy was playing at Farm Aid, and it had just been announced that he was going to be joining, or at least there were rumors that he was going to be joining Van Halen. And he did his set, which was one of the highlight sets of Farm Aid. And I remember he played Can't Drive 55, and he introduced it as, here's a song for all you tractor pulling motherfuckers. And then to end his like 4 or 5 song set, Eddie comes out and they do Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin. And that was like all but confirmation that he was actually joining Van Halen. And people started using the name Van Hagar when it was official that he was joining. And he's like, no, the name is not changing. I'm joining them. They're not joining me.
Right.
But this album I love. And Why Can't This Be Love is the big hit off of it. And I think that's one of my favorite Van Halen singles.
It's so good. That song is so good. Like, I am sort of not a Van Hagar or I really love David Lee Roth, and I didn't want him to leave. And I don't love Sammy Hagar, but I will tell you what, there is no denying that song is insane. It is
insanely good. It really is. But there's so much good stuff on here. Best of Both Worlds and Love Walks In are incredible. But the title track, 5150, love it.
Yeah, this is a really good record for someone who doesn't even love Sammy Hagar. Like, I think this is a really good record, definitely.
Yep, absolutely. And then there's a couple of other things. Since we mentioned soundtracks, there's a couple. I can segue from that too, because when you think about David Bowie in the 80s, you think of Let's Dance and Tonight, which came out in 83 and 84. And then his next album, Never Let Me Down, was 87. And he did a lot of touring and stuff, but he did so much more outside of those 3 albums, because this is when he was really getting into his acting side. And he has 2 big soundtracks that came out in the first half of this year. Absolute Beginners came out in April, where he has the title track, and he did one other song. And this movie featured him, Sade, a couple of other people. And that was a huge hit for him. And it was like constantly on MTV. But then you get down to June and Labyrinth comes out, which is, the entry point for so many people into Bowie fandom. All the people who were like second generation either came through Let's Dance or Labyrinth or both.
Yeah. And what's interesting about Absolute Beginners is when that came out, I knew a lot of people that were discovering Bowie through Let's Dance, and this was their gateway sort of to the older kind of sounding vocals of Bowie, where it wasn't necessarily poppy and dancey, but like they would go back and listen to some of the older stuff then because of Absolute Beginners. And if you watch the movie too, Julian Temple really fits him in that era. It's set in the 50s, and he totally like puts him in the right suits, and like you see that it's like David Bowie, and it's like watching Our Lady of Guadalupe or something, right? It's like this like magical sort of thing, and you get that later in Labyrinth as well. So both of these soundtracks sort of have Bowie like really prominently slathed all over him, but they also really highlight the total package of presenting him as a musician.
Big singles for him and big soundtracks for him. So he had a big 86.
So welcome to Synth March. There's one record I've got that's not one, but so March, it's also the time too that like everybody that recorded in Berlin in 85 and 86 has got a record out, because at one point in 1985 you have Al Jorgensen of Ministry, Depeche Mode, and Susie and the Banshees working on records within 3 blocks of each other that are all coming out in 1986. So we'll talk more about that a little later, but it's fascinating because a lot of them just wanted to get out of England. So Al Jorgensen does Twitch. It's his follow-up to Revenge, which the first Ministry record is pure garbage. It's on Arista. It sounds like, you're having a popsicle that's like melted. But this is sort of the perfect sort of industrial record. It's out on Sire. He toured with Front 242 and sort of got this idea of like, I want to make this like this sort of like metal clanging record. If you listen to Twitch, which is the record he made, you hear the downward spiral in it later, and you hear, you know, other things coming, because it's got very much that sort of fusion of hard electronic music and sort of like hard edge guitars and drums and percussion. And it's got Just Like You on it. It's got Twitch. You know, it's very, very far away from Every Day Is Like Halloween, which he put out the year before. And it's the beginning of Al Jorgensen sort of starting to make records on his own. But this one, he's doing it completely on his own. I mean, he's got Luke Van Acker and some other, you know, people from Wax Trax Records on him. 86 is also the year that Wax Trax Records really starts to sort of explode, and or 85 and 86. And then you've got this coming off the back of that. So that's a really interesting little stick out like a sore thumb record.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have Depeche Mode's fifth album, Black Celebration.
That almost made my list.
You know, they basically looped a car door closing for the beginning of Black Celebration. It's a car door slamming. And then as a concept record, it's fantastic. And it starts this run of like 4 really good Depeche Mode albums. And it does have a concept, because there's not a real single. I mean, there's singles on there, but it's not like you'd get later where there's obvious singles. But it's very dark. It's very murky. It's very sort of claustrophobic. They said they wanted it to sound like the Cold War, you know, where everyone's kind of miserable and wet and rainy. I'm like, well, yeah, it does. And this was the record that if you were like going out with a girl with an angular haircut, this was one of the records she dug. And it still holds up really well too. There's some really fantastic stuff on there that's not hits. The mother of that year, the mother of all records, it sort of, once it came out, it exploded, was Pleased by the Pet Shop Boys. Very nondescript, not very highly pushed when it came out. I mean, everybody kind of knew about West End Girls, but, you know, 4 top 10 hits from it. And it sort of started what they call their imperial phase, where they were just all over the charts. And they took elements of Bowie and Sparks and Soft Cell and Kraftwerk and put them all together and sort of made a record. The whole album is about a night going out in that time, and it's got some very strong sort of anti-Thatcher stuff going on. It's got anti-consumer stuff going on, but it's also got like just songs about going out to parties and picking somebody up, and it still holds up really well. It's a record that a lot of people you wouldn't expect to be into synth music really love. You know, it's one of Axl Rose's favorite records, which is very weird.
Huh. Fun fact.
Yeah. So, because he did a Rolling Stone thing, where he said, list your 10 favorite albums, and that was one of them. And people were like, what? So those are my 3 synth records for March. I've got another March one, but we can get to that later if you want.
Right on.
Well, in that case, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We are going to be right back in 30 seconds to talk about the rest of the first half of 1986. So don't go anywhere.
Well, it's getting close to summer, and you know what that means. No, don't you dare. That was 2 promos ago. Now, one thing you can be sure of, Monster Attack publishes new episodes every Monday at 5 p.m. Monster Attack, the podcast dedicated to old monster movies and a proud member of the ESO network.
Hey, shut up!
All right, we are back.
For the second quarter of the first half of 1986.
Exactly.
Well, I'm ready to take us back to metal, but maybe not as we know it. And I'm going to start this off with stop on the red, cross on the green, and never take a ride in a stranger's machine. And always remember to be running on turbo power. Yep, it's Judas Priest with Turbo. And this is an album that gets quite a lot of hate.
Yes.
So the original concept for this was it was going to be a double album. Glenn Tipton and KK Downing had bought identical sports cars, and they were going to call it Twin Turbos because of their identical cars. And half of it, one side was going to be more commercial, and the other side was going to be heavier and more aggressive. And the idea itself was scrapped, and the more commercial material made it onto Turbo, and then the rest, some of it made it onto the next album, Ram It Down. Some of it just got completely canned. But I actually strangely really enjoy Turbo. It gets a lot of hate from Priest fans because it's a lot more commercial, but I think the title track is great. It has the campest music video that heavy metal has ever seen, and it's fantastic, and I love it. Private Property is so cheesy, and I love that too. Rock You All Around the World, great. Out in the Cold is phenomenal. They opened the tour for this with that track, and it was really, really good. And Hot for Love is so much fun as a track. I get why people didn't like it at the time, but in retrospect, I think it's a very solid album. And then, of course, fans have done their thing and identified all the tracks that should have been on the other side. Some of them were released on reissues. I think 4 of them made it onto Ram It Down, and there are still a couple of unreleased ones. But you can kind of put together the second side, or the second album, if you have a number of the releases in it. That's quite fun to do. So yeah, Turbo. Alan, I know as my fellow metalhead, you probably have some thoughts, feelings on this album.
Yeah, it's good. It's not one of my favorites, but I do like it. I will say Ram It Down is better. But this is good, and I don't think that it deserves the shit that it gets.
And I really, really would love a replica of Halford's jacket from the Turbo Lover video, if anyone knows where to get one.
All right. I'm going to take it in a different direction, into a more alternative kind of, I don't even know, because this album's all over the place, but it's so good. And every single song, I think, was a single on it. And it's So by Peter Gabriel.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like literally like almost every, and plus not only every single song might have been a single, but like every musician in the world is on this album, including our good friend Tony Levin, who plays bass on, plays bass on Sledgehammer and 5 other songs on this crazy, amazing record.
And to join the dots a little, Steph, you also have El Shankar and Bill Laswell on this, who, of course, we already mentioned, both of whom were on a Public Image Limited's album.
There you go.
We're seeing the dots of the year's releases getting joined here.
Very cool. I'm looking at the list. I have Wikipedia up, and I'm looking at the list of musicians on this record. It's insane. Tony, like we said, Yasun Nador, Jim Kerr, Bill Laswell, Nile Rodgers, Laurie Anderson, of course, Kate Bush with the duet Don't Give Up. Oh my God. Daniel Lanois did a lot of playing on this record, and I think he produced Don't Give Up. It's like a cavalcade of stars.
Copeland's on it.
Yeah, Stuart Copeland. I was just gonna say.
Yep.
Can't leave my boy off.
Played the drums on Big Time, and I think he played Red Rain.
Yeah, he did. I think he did hi-hats on Red Wayne.
Yeah, that's all he did.
Red Wayne.
Red Wayne.
Wow. I developed a spontaneous lisp there. Red Rain.
Red Rum. No.
Red Rum, exactly.
Red Rum.
Oh my gosh. This was an incredible record, and some of the quote unquote lesser songs are some of my favorites. That Voice Again is so good. Mercy Street, holy cow.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And Milgram 37 is so great. I love this record.
You think every song was a single, but maybe they weren't, but in your mind they kind of were, you know what I mean?
Because that album was everywhere.
Yeah. You could not turn around without seeing Sledgehammer on MTV.
Yeah.
It got way overplayed, but it was so good and so groundbreaking for a video.
And what's interesting is while Laswell's working on this record, he's producing a Motorhead album at the same time.
Wow.
Love that.
Which shows his versatility.
Yeah.
There was a performance of Sledgehammer a couple of years later at the 1988 Prince's Trust concert.
Yes.
That has Phil Collins on drums and Brian May on guitar with Mick Karn on bass. I mean,
oh my God.
It's almost like when you had Knopfler showing up and doing Money for Nothing with Sting and Phil Collins and Clapton. And, Sting is just there doing backing vocals. He's not even playing bass. I mean, when you're one of those top artists and you can call on those other top artists to be your backing band, that is some serious big dick energy.
Oh, my God.
Totally. BDE.
Right.
So we should do a whole show about Bob Mould. Husker Du's got Candy Apple Gray at this point. In the same way that we talked about Jimmy Jam and Terry, Husker Du's kind of also doing that on the flip side of Minneapolis. They were like, before this record, they were on SST and they were pretty much a punk band. And then Candy Apple Gray is the one where they sort of embraced more of a pop sound. They were all over 120 minutes with Don't Want to Know If You Are Lonely. And this is the record that kind of got that sort of Minneapolis rock sound really going. I mean, the Replacements sort of rode this wave, and a couple other bands as well. And it's an interesting time because Mold is starting to make records that he wants to make and sounds that he wants to make, but he's still loud. Like today, he is still the loudest thing I've ever heard.
So loud, I know.
Live. A friend of mine.
It's hard to go to the show almost.
A friend of mine saw Sugar in New York a couple weeks ago and lost his hearing for a day and a half.
I know my friends were there too. They said it was so fucking loud.
So this record's interesting too, because because of the success of this, you get the Pixies, you get the Replacements, you get sort of that crunchier REM. And that's kind of the end of mine for March.
All right. Well, I'll jump in with my yearly Paisley report. So as we talked about last time in 1985, Prince talked Warner Brothers into letting him launch a record label called Paisley Park. And in 1986, it's still like not a very big year for them. I think they had 2 releases last year. This year, they've got a couple. 1987 is when they start really pushing out stuff. But this year, the Prince album Parade came out, which was the soundtrack-ish, sort of the soundtrack to the movie Under a Cherry Moon, which was not a big box office hit in the same way that Purple Rain was. But the album was pretty good. It was a very weird album in that it was stylistically all over the map. It's got some great tunes on it, though. And like the big hit was Kiss, which was a big MTV hit. And it was a huge hit on Top 40 radio and on the black charts and all that stuff. But there was a bunch of other things, like Mountains is probably my favorite song, which was written by Prince and Wendy and Lisa. Another Lover, Hole in Your Head is a great one. And then, of course, the song that essentially predicts Prince's death, Sometimes It Snows in April, because he died in April. And apparently it was recorded on the same day, like a year earlier or something, that the same date that Prince ended up dying on. It's an insane song. And the song is all about missing someone who has passed away.
That's so odd.
Oh my God. It's a crazy story.
Wow.
Another of their releases is the first album by a band called Maserati, which was kind of a funk / rock band that I really loved. And they weren't necessarily the Prince prodigy kind of thing. They were more put together and guided by Prince's bass player, Mark Brown, who goes under the stage name Brown Mark. And he's the one that was behind Maserati. And Maserati, they did have a Prince song on the album called 100 Miles an Hour, which was really great. They never went very big, but I saw them play in Winter Haven, Florida, in a skating rink. And this was right down the road from where I was working at Specs Music at the time. And I played the Maserati. I swear that my store sold more copies than anywhere else in the country, because I played it all the time. And every time I play it, people would be like, what the hell is this? I've never heard anything like this before. And I would hold it up. And they'd be like, I'm buying it. And then I'd order 5 more copies in and sell all of those. So I'm sure that Warner Brothers / Paisley Park was like, what's going on in Winter Haven, Florida?
Alan is there.
Exactly right. And they were such a great band with a really flashy lead guitar player. He was amazing. And the connection here is that the song Kiss was originally going to go to the Maserati album, but at the last minute, Prince decided, you know what? I dig that song too much. I'm going to keep it and put it on Parade. So he re-recorded it a little bit, but the background vocals that are on Prince's release is the Maserati guys. So he kept part of their recording and just dubbed himself over it.
Oh, wow.
So the one thing that Maserati is known for is doing the backup vocals on Kiss.
Hey,
and
I'll
then
take that.
I know, right? And then one other one, Sheila E. is in between albums. She put out her second album the year before and has her third album coming out in another year or so. But in '86, her song Holly Rock was released as a single from the Krush Groove soundtrack.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't underestimate those soundtracks for Krush Groove, and
I'm telling
those
you.
things were like they moved, man. Those things, those were everywhere. So
Yeah.
So unfortunately, when I put out a playlist that will accompany this episode, a lot of that Paisley Park stuff is way out of print. So the Maserati album will go unrepresented on our playlist, sadly.
Could you say that it's way out of print? I'm so sorry.
well done.
You can have me.
and
making a
bashing
shot.
on you.
Yeah.
He gets kicked off the Zoom now.
And oddly
Anthony-
enough, another band that I wanted to feature is also not going to be represented on our playlist because all of their back catalog, we've talked about this before, is completely missing from streaming, and that's The Fix.
Oh, right.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
They put out the album Walkabout in '86, which had a couple of hits on it, Secret Separation and Built for the Future. And I love that album, and I would love to include it on our playlist, but by God, there is nothing to put because all streaming platforms have no classic Fix catalog on it. I don't understand streaming. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah. So we talked about Peter Gabriel with So. I also want to talk about Genesis because they put out Invisible Touch in '86.
Yeah.
And that's another album, much like Turbo Lover, that gets quite a lot of stick from the fans. And again, arguably Genesis' most commercial album. You look at their kind of singles history, and it was the first time they had a #1 single in the US with the title track. And then every single track on that album went top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? Because there are so many songs on that did well. Yeah.
And I think with Genesis, the fans tend to look back on the Peter Gabriel era and want the more proggy stuff. But I've got to be honest, if you've ever seen them play Invisible Touch live, which you won't get to anymore because they're done.
Yeah.
That song is so much fun live.
I love
much
that
fun.
song. I think it's a great song.
Land of Confusion, outstanding.
I love
Throwing It
that
All
Confusion.
Away. Throwing It All Away, such a good song. I love that. Song.
That was when I went
Yeah,
to the
love it.
bathroom when I saw them.
Didn't like it. Okay. I'm not talking live. I'm just saying I like that song. Yeah.
A big fan of Tonight, Tonight, Tonight.
Yes.
The 27-minute long version. And of course, Domino. Domino is so fucking good.
Yeah, it really
That's
is.
probably the touch of prog on this album. And it's fantastic.
Yeah. I will say I'm not a big fan of this album, but you cannot deny how incredibly well crafted it is. And the songwriting is solid. The production is great. It just doesn't appeal to me as much. But I will say that Land of Confusion, I still really like a lot. And some of those deeper cuts, Domino and Tonight × 3, I really, really do enjoy.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
have to go
Tonight,
back
Tonight,
to it.
Tonight, that moment where it goes kind of a little upbeat towards the end with the You Keep Telling Me verse.
Yep.
Oh, brilliant.
I have to go back. I don't know Domino. I can't picture that in my
That's that's the 11-minute one.
Really? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And they did that on their 2007 tour. And on the screen, they did like a vortex effect around Phil Collins' face as he was singing it. And I was like, yes, Phil Collins is the Doctor.
Right.
It was a lot of fun to hear live.
Oh, that's cool.
Hmm.
All right. I'm going to raise hell now.
Yes, do it.
Let's talk about Run DMC. Raising Hell.
Mm.
Third album. personally my probably favorite album by them.
Mm.
Starting off with just Peter Piper, which is that was not even a single, and that should have been a single. What a great song. It's so catchy, and I could sing you every word, but I will not because that's embarrassing.
Do it.
No. But wow, there's so many songs on this album that are great. It's tricky. My Adidas. Walk This Way, of course, which was just
Everywhere.
blowing up, with
Oh, yeah.
Aerosmith. You Be Illin', Raising Hell, Hit and Run. There's just oh my God. I just love this album so much.
You know, it's funny when new metal hit in the early 2000s and rap and metal became on vogue again. Walk This Way was all over the British music channels for a few years.
Again.
And I got so fed up of it. And it's taken me almost 20 years to be into that song again. And I do it. Once again, I enjoy it. But at the time, massively.
Yeah, definitely overplayed.
Yeah, it sucks that the rest of that record sort of gets buried behind that.
Yeah.
Because there's some fantastic stuff on there. Like I remember a lot of kids in sort of my purview around school and stuff where like You Be Illin' was everywhere.
Oh my God, I know.
Mhm.
And it's tricky. Like
It's tricky, yeah.
It's Tricky was huge on the corner breakdancing scene.
Yeah.
Steph asked Bob if he owned any parachute pants later.
Can you imagine Bob in parachute pants?
A chilly hat and this little parachute pant. Yeah.
Buy me some and I will wear them to
No.
for the first time we do a live show with an audience. I
used to love parachute pants, man. I never owned any, but I thought they were cool.
We had Krush Groove earlier this year when this came out, but this really elevated sort of rap on a pop chart way, in a way that people could no longer ignore it or dismiss it or sort of segregate it into like as its own separate genre. It was like getting played on rock stations in the same way that soul records were crossing over or country records would cross over between charts. And it really opened the doors for hip hop and rap on pop charts.
Just think about MTV and the videos. I mean, good God, you could not turn it on without seeing, again, like you're seeing Sledgehammer this year, you're seeing Walk This Way this year. It's just everywhere. So kudos to Run DMC.
Yep. I've got a couple things for that month. The Art of Noise released a completely instrumental version of Peter Gunn with Dwayne Eddy.
Yep.
And thus we had the very brief steel guitar fad of the mid 1980s that would lead into 88 and 87 and 88, where you would get steel guitars on like every friggin' dance record known to man now. But that Art of Noise record, Invisible Silence, their second record, was really interesting because they're making that record without any of the modern technological stuff that we use now to make it. And it isn't, the people making it are interesting as well too. It's also, Trevor Horn's hands are all over it, sort of making it sound the way it sounds. It still sounds fantastic. So we've got that. We've also got the first record by Book of Love, who probably were big because of John Hughes, because Modigliani was in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Boy was in a couple other movies and stuff too. And they were sort of the big synth band with a female fronted singer. There's another band that I know Alan wants to talk about later that's in that kind of purview. But these guys in that other band were sort of in that vein of like really female driven pop dancey stuff. And then the record I'm really excited about that I remember going out and buying and being like super jazzed about was Tinderbox by Susie and the Banshees.
Thank you. I was wondering if we were ever going to get to that.
Incidentally, the cover of that record, which is a cover of a tornado taken in 1926 or 27, is also on a Miles Davis record. But that's neither here nor there. You've got two great singles. You've got Cities and Dust, which most people regard as a classic, and also Candyman. Yeah. And then the song itself, Tinderbox, is great. That whole record is just fantastic. And they weren't trying to make Susie commercial, but they were really trying to make her much more exposed in the US, right? It's her 7th album. It doesn't sound anything like the first 2 or 3, but the voice is fantastic. The production is great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Cities and Dust, all I think about when I think about that song is like closing the Palladium down at 4 a.m. because they would play that to sort of that, for the staff and whatever to dance to, and just everyone would then get out.
Because it builds, it literally bubbles and it
Yeah.
builds, and it's got that weird sort of backbeat that it's just kind of
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Love it.
I know it's basic as hell to pick the big single as your favorite track on the album,
But it's okay.
but Cities and
it.
Dust might be my favorite
Yeah.
Banshees song.
Mine too.
Because I mean, it's about the destruction of Pompeii from Vesuvius. Writing a modern pop song about the destruction of an ancient city, killing all the citizens of an ancient city, is as goth as you can get.
It totally
And-
Yeah, and it's also a metaphor for, growing up in the atomic age. We were all worried about getting the bomb dropped on us, right? She was very, very, she's still pretty punk rock on this record, and a lot of the stuff she's making songs about. And Candyman's really kind of creepy.
Candyman is amazing.
Yeah.
But 92 Degrees is really great.
I love that
is really
one.
great. Oh, it's such a good record.
92 Degrees was the one I used to play in clubs every once in a while, and people are like, "What is this?" I'm like, "It's Susie," and they're like, "What?" It's such a fantastic record that should have been a single.
Yeah.
So,
All right, y'all, we're running out of time. We got stuff we haven't talked about
Oh
yet.
my God. Can I just do my last one then?
Yeah.
Or Anthony, you do yours and then I'll do mine.
Yeah.
Mine's very quick, and that's Queensryche with Rage for Order, which I think was where they really started coming into their own. I mean, they'd previously had, it was their second album, but you sort of really start building into the progressive metal that you would see 2 years later with Operation Mindcrime. And they start to explore some pretty heavy political tech themes, social, personal things. And they even talk about the dangers of AI. So it's very much ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, Screaming in Digital, killer track.
Oh man, so good.
So very quickly touching on that, and I'm done.
are we going through June, or are we just going to the end of May?
Yeah, June.
So for May, couple quick hit fires. The Cure, Standing on a Beach, probably the biggest best of album of the year. Still amazingly popular. It made The Cure in America pretty much at the point because everything was all in one place. The record I know Alan wants to talk about too, Laurie Anderson, Home of the Brave.
Mm-hmm.
This record did so well that she got to do PSAs on PBS. She made a series of PSAs that aired on PBS. William Burroughs, our friend Bill Laswell's on it. So is our friend Adrian Ballou. It's a fantastic record. Home of the Brave is just, if you have never heard it, you should listen to it.
Right.
And the Smiths, The Queen is Dead, which is...
Yeah. Chef's kiss.
I lied. I have one more.
Yes.
Okay.
Queen, A Kind of Magic,
Oh, yes.
which I'd forgotten. I thought it was July. It was a June release. And of course, One Vision, the title track, Friends Will Be Friends, Who Wants to Live Forever, which is one of my absolute favorite Queen tracks. What a great album.
Princes of the Universe.
Yes.
I fucking love that song.
So good.
Yes, it is. It's such a good record.
All right. Well, I have to get my Crowded House in, people.
Yeah.
Right.
You've got two that you have to get in.
Well, I'm going to mention Hunters and Collectors
Good.
because of Human Frailty is the name of the record. I'm going to mention that because of the connection to Crowded House. So Mark Seymour, who was really like the leader of Hunters and Collectors, band from New Zealand, their fourth album was Human Frailty. And there's a song on this album called Throw Your Arms Around Me, who everybody in the universe has covered because it's one of the most beautiful songs ever written. And it's a really, it's almost like the national anthem of Australia, even though, just people love that song. So Mark Seymour wrote this song, Throw Your Arms Around Me. And then before he was in Crowded House, they were obviously friends or whatever. And I went to see Crowded House debut at the Wiltern Theater in California in 1986. This album had just come out. I had no idea that it came out, and I just went to see it because I was like, oh, Neil Finn's new band. I was a major Split Enz fan. So I was sitting in the Wiltern Theater being blown away by this new Crowded House album. And they also threw this song in Throw Your Arms Around Me. I believe Mark came out. I believe Paul Kelly from Paul Kelly and the Messengers came out, and they all sung it together, and it was just like mind blowing. And I've never forgotten this song from that concert. But this first Crowded House album. If you look at every single song on this thing, like,
Yeah.
you would think that this is like there's got to be like 2 songs on this album, 2 songs because it's like one giant album of greatest hits. But it's really their first album in a long line of albums to come that are almost the same, with like every single song being a massive hit or could be a massive hit.
Yeah, and I remember too. I was buying it based on Split Ends, which I loved.
Yeah.
And I remember just going, this sounds nothing like Split Ends, but I wasn't mad. It was it's like, wow, this is fantastic, but it sounds nothing like Split Ends.
For Split Ends, like you could see like the pop element that Neil brought to Split Ends, right? Like instead of the weird element that Tim gave to Split, and that Allman gave. But I mean, not that Neil didn't have strange oddities and stuff too, but like he brought them in way more a pop direction. So this is where it ultimately led, you know?
Yeah.
And it's funny, Steph. I remember you bringing up Crowded House when we talked about bands that should have been bigger. Growing up in Britain in the 90s, even in the late 90s, and I know this is a later album, but I wanted to come back to this. Weather for You was absolutely everywhere on the radio for the best part of 10 years in the UK. It was fucking huge.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Oh, yeah. So good. But this, Don't Dream Is Over. It's Over is still like played so much today, and people cover it.
Great track.
Such a great track. Something So Strong. But I love the stuff on this, like I Walk Away, or Now We're Getting Somewhere. Like those.
Mean to Me.
What a great opener.
They did my favorite concert of the pandemic, because they did like a sort of stay-at-home concert thing, and it was fantastic.
I wish I could have gone more into other albums like Eurythmics, Revenge.
No. Okay. That's what I've been waiting for you to get to. Because I took it off my list because you put it on your list.
No, that was an honor. I had to put it as an honorable mention. I thought.
Well, okay.
Let's talk about it together.
Well, we will, because
It's
it
amazing.
came out. It came out on June 30th. So the very last day of the time that we're talking about here, Revenge from the Eurythmics. Holy shit. This is a good record.
Thorn in My Side. Like I would want to cover that song. It's so good.
Yeah, it is. And the first single that was released is a weird pick, but it was Missionary Man.
It's a weird pick. Yeah,
but
agree.
The video is so great. And it's probably my favorite track on the album. But Thorn in My Side, When Tomorrow Comes, Let's Go, Miracle of Love. It's such an incredible record. It's not my favorite Eurythmics record.
No.
That's coming next year.
What's that one? Wait. What's the next year one?
Oh, we'll talk about it next year.
Okay.
But yeah, this album is incredible.
It really is.
So I had to get that in there before we close out the first half of 1986. So we will be back next week, and we'll be talking about the second half of 1986. So let us know what your favorite albums are from the first half of 86. We would love for you to let us know, and we'll talk about it in the next episode. Drop us a line at modernmusicology1@gmail.com, or leave a comment on our socials. All right, gang, let's tell people where we can find it. Do it quick. Anthony, go.
Well, since my other podcast is currently on hiatus since I've been moving, just gonna give a personal promo. Anyone wants to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Englishman in ATL.
There you go, Rob.
You can find me on the Sky Blue. You can find me on the Book of Face, and you also can listen to me every Saturday on Eardrum Buzz Radio, eardrumbuzzradio.net, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central Time, or 8 to 10 p.m. Central Time. It repeats twice on Saturdays. Also, Mondays is fun days, because Mondays you have Louder Than War Radio. I'm on from 12 to 2 Central Time with Antics on Louder Than War Radio. And then the Face Radio out of Brooklyn has a program there called The Free Design. That is from 5 to 7 p.m. And then Wednesdays, I host Juxtaposition on Community Radio St. Louis, which is from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time, streaming at crstl.fm.
Woot.
All right, since you mentioned Blue Sky, I just wanted to throw in really quickly that I was watching some footage from the Senate was like cross-examining somebody, and this rather old guy references a whatever you call it on Blue Sky, not a tweet, but whatever they call it. And he was like, "You recently posted on Blueski."
Blueski.
And I
I knew you were
thought,
gonna say
fuck.
that. That's what
All
Bob
right,
likes
Stephanie,
to call it.
do
All
your
right.
do your rundown.
Quickly,
Here's
you can
on.
find me on Facebook at Stephanie Seymour Music. You can find me on Instagram at there_r_birds. You can find me on Bandcamp under my name, and you can find me on Spotify and all the streaming platforms.
Well done.
Thank you.
I'm at cosmiccreative.com. And don't forget to go listen to the playlist that we will be putting out on Spotify that accompanies this episode. And you can listen to all the stuff that we talked about. We will see you again in 1 week. We'll be talking about 1986, July through December. So stick around for that. Everybody take care. Have a great week and keep rocking on.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.